For those of you who weren't here for the first workshop, please go to this link and start downloading stuff. It's gonna take a little bit. Oh, okay. Yeah, start downloading. You need Unity Hub, you need the project, and you need to put the project inside of Unity. I'll show you guys how to do that in a second, okay? Take it away.
Okay, so while you guys are going to do that, my name is Nicole. I'm going to introduce sort of like how this is working since this is the first official workshop for this series. So if you guys haven't been to the other ones, don't worry, I'm going to break it down for you. So this semester we're doing Explore a little bit differently. We're doing a cohort style thing. So instead of just having 2 or 3 workshops throughout the semester, we have a bunch more in different series of game dev, web dev, AI, and hardware. So how does this work? Each series is going to have 4 workshops, an intro one and 3, we can call them development or cohort workshops. So even though they're like cohort specific, you're still going to be able to attend these if you're not part of the cohort. But if you filled out that cohort interest form for this particular track and attend all 3 of them, you're going to get some exclusive merch at the end. And it's going to help you build up your skills in game dev because you're going to have some finalized projects that you guys can put on your resumes and on your GitHub, which is really, really important that you guys understand how to do that. So essentially we have the 4 different tracks. Each week we're going to have a different iteration. So last week we had our first intro to web dev, and we had
Game dev as well?
we had game dev last week. This week we had web dev on Tuesday. This is our first official cohort. Next week we have another web dev, our intro to AI, and then another game dev. So you guys are going to be seeing this series repeat on the same day, same time, same room every week for 3 iterations. So we can scroll down a bit. This is our cohort 1 schedule, right? So as you can see, the first week we had game dev. This week we had web dev, game dev, and then it's going to kind of continue in that like waterfall flow kind of thing that you guys see. The deadlines for the cohorts are really important. If you guys are all here, I assume you're part of the game dev cohort. Again, don't worry if you're not, because you're totally welcome to attend any of them regardless. But that was yesterday. For web dev, it's going to be next week, Monday, so right before that second web dev workshop. The week after that, it's going to be the 4th, which is on Tuesday for AI. And then the week after that, it's going to be on Sunday, the 9th, for hardware. So essentially, if you get confused, just try to take a look for that second workshop for each track. And right before that day is your deadline to apply for that track. Don't worry if you guys miss a track. If you want to do all 4 of them, great, love it. We're going to repeat it after spring break. So if this time you did web dev and AI, next semester, or next section of the semester, I guess, you can do game dev and hardware, right? So then go down. Like you mentioned, this Explore Hub is going to be basically your, whatever. Explore Hub is going to be your one-stop shop for Explore. So that's going to have all of your videos, all of your Notion docs, your PowerPoints that you guys need. If you miss a workshop, if you didn't get to go to that intro one or whatever it is, doesn't work with your schedule, you can go onto that Explore Hub, like I listed there, go.fau.edu/Explore Hub, and you should have everything there, along with a calendar of all of the Explore events for the entire semester. This cohort interest form is important if you guys are interested in joining any of the other tracks for this first half of the semester. For game dev, the deadline already closed. You won't be able to sign up for that. But if you guys want to do web dev, AI, or hardware as well for this chunk of the semester, you're welcome to scan this QR code and sign up for that now. So I'll give you guys a second if you're interested in that. Okay, you guys got those pictures. Try to do that quickly because this next section is really, really important for those of you who want your cute Explore merch. So can you scroll down to it? So this is the cohort entry survey. This is really, really important that you guys fill this out at the beginning of the workshop series. So this is going to be your only chance to fill out this form, and you need to have this one and the exit form filled out in order to get your merch. So why are we doing this? We want to make sure that this program is working for you guys. We want to make sure that you're getting what you need out of it, that our expectations are set clear, and that people are actually learning and growing throughout the program. So it's just going to be a few basic questions, asking your confidence in your resume, maybe your ability to express your skill set, if you've ever done a project before, if you've done an internship and stuff. And we hope that by the end of this series, you guys feel a little bit more confident in all those things, and then you're able to have that project under your belt. So please fill that out right now. Yeah?
letting me scan the QR code.
You what?
It's not letting me scan.
It's not letting you guys?
It does work.
How many of you have been able to scan it? Okay, most of you. Try to maybe mess with the lighting a bit. Try to like.
Maybe I'm too close.
Yeah, I think it might be the light.
Oh, if you're
Yes,
too
it's
close
definitely
to
because
it?
you're too close.
Do you want to maybe zoom out a bit? Okay. Thank you. Very good sport, Nicholas.
I don't know how to zoom out.
So again, make sure you guys fill this out now because I'm not posting this anywhere else. This is for you guys here so that we know. Oh, that might be good. That's yeah, just for a sec. Thank you.
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome. So yeah, if you guys don't fill out this form and that exit form, I don't care how many workshops you've been to, you're not getting your cute pins. So please make sure to fill this out now. Okay, I'll give you guys all like a minute to do that because I know there's a few questions there. Yes.
Sorry, for the cohort track session, the request was to
Yeah. Even if you're part of another one, you'll probably just fill that out for one.
Oh, so it's still one day.
Then for the entry service, it asks you what track you're in.
Yeah. And then so that's the one that's today, or like, it's just gonna.
It can be either one. I would put the one today since you're here today. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're
No,
good.
you're perfect. Loki, I'm gonna get rid of that quick.
I tried doing it from the computer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
For some reason, my phone's just not recognizing it at all. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, so how many of you have been able to complete that? Can I see a show of hands?
It's not loading the page for me.
Give it a sec. The Wi-Fi in here is
Yeah.
not the best.
Especially with all of us
If
here.
you have it on
Yeah.
your computer, you're good. Okay, awesome. So, like I said, please fill that out. If you don't, sucks. Unfortunately. Okay, so next section, I want to talk about some of the upcoming events that we have next week. Again, if you guys are interested in any of the other tracks, but on Tuesday, we have our Web Dev Intro to HTML and CSS. This is a really, really vital and foundational workshop for you guys because it's going to teach you the basics of web dev. Following that is going to be JavaScript, and those are kind of like the three main elements that you guys need for web dev. So if you guys are interested, it's going to be Tuesday at 3:30 in case 135. And again, you guys will be able to find all of these links on that Explore Hub as well, on that calendar. When you open up any of the events, the little like, I guess event entries on Notion, it'll have the Luma link there as well, so no worries if you can't get it now. The next one, on Wednesday, we have our orientation for AI, so our intro to AI. If you guys are interested in that track, I would recommend going and kind of scoping it out, seeing if you like it, and then you can join that track as well for this section of the semester. It's going to be Wednesday at 4 p.m. in PG5 134. That's the one right next to Crib King, I think. So I'll give you guys a second for that as well. Want it. Okay, next one. This is going to be the key for all of you guys, who I assume most of you are part of this game dev cohort. This is going to be the second workshop in this series. It's going to be create your own NPC, and it's going to be same room, same time, same day. Hopefully this works for most of your schedules because it's going to be repeating the same fashion every time. So yeah, again, all of this is on the Luma if you guys need it, but in case you want to register now, here you go. And that's all I got. I'm going to give it to Mr. Ricardo.
Let me know when you guys are ready. Everyone's done with the surveys? Awesome. Okay. Who knows this game? Okay. Who said, raise your hand again if you know this game? Who has played this game? What's the name of the game? How long have you played it?
I've played for I've played 20 hours into it.
You think it's a good game? I'm not asking if it's a fun game. I'm saying if you think it's a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah? Think it's a good game?
I think like that it's like low res, it's like stretched,
Right.
but it's fun.
Right. Who else raised your hand? You think it's a good game? It's terrible? Behind? You think it's a good game? Not asking if it's a fun game. Is it a good game? Good game. Good game? All right. Who else raised their hand? Is it a good game?
Yeah.
It's a good game?
I own it. I have a copy of it, and I played it for like a little bit, but I haven't played it enough for me to decide whether or not it's a good game or not.
Fair point.
I got introduced.
Who else raised their hand? Somebody back there. Is it a good game?
Yeah.
Good game?
It's a great game.
Great game? How many zeros do I have? Who else said it's a good game?
Even better than us.
I agree. It's everyone's opinion, right? All right. This is the last time that I checked. A year ago, this game made $100 million. That's a year ago. I don't know what's made so far. A year ago, the game has made $100 million. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Game's good, but it's not that good. Right? Okay. I wanted to start a workshop like that because at the end of the day, we all want to turn this into a business, right? It's hard to get into a business. I'm not saying every one of your projects will make this much. But this is a team of like 3 or 4 students. And awesome, right? Okay. Now, Triple D. That's going to help you in every one of your projects, even if you're not interested into game development. By the way, I should have asked before I said this, but be honest. Before I said this, who here wants or is interested in becoming a game developer? Honesty. Okay. Half of you are lying. Okay, fair. Anybody want to guess the keywords that you need for computer science, especially game development?
Guess one. I think one is design.
Design? Not one of these 3. But good answer.
Document.
Good answer too? Not one of those 3?
Determination.
Oh man, good one. By the way, in the meantime, start downloading everything because I know half of you guys don't have it. We're gonna start coding immediately. I don't want anybody falling behind, all right? So I'm stalling a little bit. Why do you think determination is so important?
It helps you finish your projects in time. Instead of procrastinating.
Right, and in this field, your project is gonna get you either making a ton of money or hired, right? Nothing else. Anybody else?
You're gonna have like bumps in the road, so you gotta stay determined and not let that stop you.
I agree. Anybody else want to chime in? No? Who wants to guess the second one?
Dedication.
Good one, but no. Anybody else want to guess? This is why you will never forget this. Simplicity doesn't start with a D, right?
Okay.
Right. What do you think simplicity is the second most important thing?
Well, if you're like one guy, you don't wanna like put too much work on yourself, because you're not gonna be able to make like game art, code, and all that at once.
You gotta be careful. Simplicity doesn't mean limiting yourself. It just means whatever your task is, accomplish it in the most simple way.
I was thinking like when you asked that question, I thought you meant like in terms of like game design or like coding.
It applies to both. In my perspective, it applies to coding.
Customers love simple products.
Yes. But remember, simplicity, I don't mean your product has to be simple. It means your approach has to be simple. I'll give you guys an example as the workshop goes.
Similar to what you say, like something that is not too comfortable for the customers to understand.
Right.
So like, because if they cannot understand the game,
Right. But remember, I don't mean simple. I mean simplicity. What I mean by that is, if we have an approach, your approach should always be the simplest approach. Not simplify your, for example, if you have, I don't know, if you have a swimming script. I think we were talking before the workshop started, right? About water physics. If you have to, which is gonna be your last, but I'll get to that in a second. If you have a swimming script, you could technically make it super simple and just kind of make an animation of swimming, and you don't have to model the 3D physics underwater. If you have the last word that I'm gonna say. Somebody else had their hand up.
Oh, I was just gonna say, simplicity is a term of like, don't do too much, you know? Like, if you want to build something, start simple, and then if you want to make it more complex, down the line, then build it up.
Not the way I like to look at simplicity, but I agree.
I was thinking like the antithesis to all that would be Yandere deck.
Right, that game did pretty good. Right. Okay, who wants to guess the last one? And it does start with a D.
Okay.
Promise. Who wants to guess? Nobody wants to guess? Ooh, you were so close. Super close. You want to guess again? No? All right. Somebody wants to guess? You almost have it. Who said it? Deadline, right? Deadline. Disregard my terrible handwriting. Deadline. Why is deadline important?
I mean, it kind of complements with the determination aspect, just so you
Right.
finish your projects in time.
And it is linked directly to simplicity. What I mean by simplicity, not that you have to not make your idea or make something worse. Simplify whatever you're making based on your deadline. How many of you guys have played games, AAA games, and have had a ton of glitches? Everyone that's played games should raise your hand. What do you think that is? Deadlines. All the developers know how to fix all the glitches, but that depends on the deadline, right? So, with all those three things in mind, we have, we're gonna make a character, right? But we have a deadline, and we have to use simplicity in our end to meet that deadline, right? You could build upon whatever we're building, but remember, we have a deadline. This one's important, but it's important for every aspect. Okay, now that I have your full attention, who has Unity Hub open? Who has the project open? Okay. For those of you that do not have the project open, did you guys unzip the project? Kind of nod, yes or no? No?
I just haven't done anything with it yet.
Right? Okay. So, to open the project, you're going to go here, add project, add from disk, and then you're going to find wherever you put that, okay? So just make sure it's not a zip file. You guys downloaded a zip file from me, uncompress that zip file, and then you're going to have the project. Once you open the project, you should have something similar to this. Let me know if you guys have that. Who? Okay, raise your hand if you're not here. If you are not here. Okay. Right, I'll come around.
My computer's slow. That's it.
Oh, it's loading? Okay. Who else? It's not there? Yeah, click on it, and then it'll say to install editor. It'll take a little bit because the Wi-Fi here in this room is terrible.
How to open it?
Click on it, and it'll ask you to install. Click on this little yellow triangle. And then it's gonna ask you to install the editor that you need to open it with. Just click install. It'll take a little bit because this Wi-Fi in this room is terrible.
Okay, thank you.
Oof. I'll tell them now.
Downloaded it, but then it says that.
Yeah, click missing version and then just click install. It'll take a little bit. Let me come around. Okay, go to add project here. Add from disk. And then find where the download from the zip file that you had.
Where do you download the project again?
So on the link, go to the init Notion and all the links for the projects and Unity Hub there.
Where is it exactly? Like I have here?
Yeah, just click on that and just click open. There you go.
Oh, okay.
And then click here. And then it's gonna ask you to install missing version. Once it loads, it'll. You have to. Did you download the project from Google from the drive? Yeah, you have to go to the Notion and download the project first.
Oh, okay, got it.
Go ahead.
Where can I download it?
So you have to download. Go lower. This is the link for the Unity Hub, and under this is a link for the project.
I already called him over, so might as well. Do I press switch target?
Build. Sure.
Okay.
See what happens.
It opens.
I don't know why it's asking.
It asked me the same thing, but
Yeah,
mine opened.
it's on. Yeah,
Does this feel better?
yeah, that's good. Excuse me. Sorry. Yes.
Sorry, I have a question. What version of Unity are you?
Once you put the project, it'll tell you to download the version. I don't remember, 2022 something, point something. But it'll ask you once you have the project.
I'm just waiting for it to download.
Okay. Hey,
I have to have the editor thing downloaded in order to open it.
the specific for the project, yeah. Hey,
I wasn't here last week.
Right.
But I did download the thing from Google Docs.
right?
So how do I open it?
Yeah, you go to add, once you have that uncompressed, you gotta go add project here and find where this is, and it'll ask you to install the Unity version, okay? Hey,
I was here last time. I downloaded it.
right?
Is this it?
Yeah, just click on it and click open. No, but you have to add it from here, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Add it here, add project from disk, find where that folder is, and then it's gonna prompt you to install. In order to open it, you have to install an editor, which it'll take a little bit because in this room the Wi-Fi is terrible. So there you go, you have to click on that. And then it'll prompt you to install an editor. And it will take a little bit, yes. There you go, missing editor, and then just click install.
So I open.
Add project from, there you go, then find where that is, go to open. And then once you have it here, click on this yellow thing. It's gonna say missing editor, just install. No, the one on top. And then it'll take a little bit. Yeah.
We have to download the editor application and everything to run the actual zip, right?
You could take a bunch of stuff away. You don't have to install all the prerequisites to make it a little smaller. But top of my head, I don't remember everything you need. But yeah, you don't have to. No, that's because we'll go to the workshop. Okay. You understand why. All right.
I think the fun part is
Where am I going for the thing? I came in late for this.
Okay. Yeah, you have the project link here, and then the Unity Hub. You have to download Unity, then the project, then put the project inside of Unity, and then install the editor. All right.
Ready to open the project, so should I wait or?
Yeah, you have to wait. It'll take a little bit. The Wi-Fi here is very slow, so yeah, it'll take a little bit. All right, I'm gonna start with a workshop. I would try to be as slow as possible, just to let everyone catch up. Again, stop me every now and then, ask me questions. If you want, you could also write notes. Anyways, in the project, because again, I've done this a couple times, and in the project that I gave you guys, you have everything already completed. This is why I do it. So this script and this script should be the same thing. This should be our first workshop. This is our second workshop. And I don't know what this is. So you have everything completed in your project. I just want to go step by step and do everything from scratch, just so I can teach you guys things that you're going to learn along the way, right? Like the question that you asked me why it goes through some of the objects. So, but don't stress that you have everything in your position already, okay? Before I start, question. All right. Okay, in this project, we already have something created, but whenever you create a new project, you're not gonna have everything created like it is here. So I'm gonna do certain things to avoid using whatever we have created here, okay? So whenever you have a new project, you don't have any of these folders down here. So, but it is very important to be organized. Super important. Actually, so important that whenever you guys keep building stuff, and then your code gets out of hand and it gets way too big, you're definitely gonna need to have everything organized. I'm gonna show you guys one of my scripts, and this is all scripts, by the way. This is all variables, 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 more variables, more variables, more variables, more variables, more. This is one function, another one, more, right? So if you're not organized, it's gonna be hard once you have a long code, right? So the way that I like doing this is I put comments. Obviously, this is a text, so you can't really, but I put comments in everything that I do. When you open it in an IDE, it'll look a lot prettier, and the comments will look green. But comment everything. Trust me, you will need it. And something else that I like going an extra step is I like making these dividers. These dividers up here, I put them all throughout my code. So whenever I'm changing something, if I'm like, I need to change something whenever my player is sprinting, I don't know. I could just scroll down and I have camera stuff, I have battery, I have steps, flashlight. You guys see all the comments, how it separates everything and you have everything in one chunk. So again, organization is very, very important, right? Very important. So, if I could get out of here. Okay. So, every time you start a new project, try to organize as much as possible. Right click, create, and then go to folder. That's gonna create one of these folders and name it scripts, for example. We're gonna create our first empty scene. Right click, create, and go to scene. Name it whatever you want. You can call it first scene. Can everyone see? Do you want me to turn off the lights? turn off the lights. Please, someone. Oh,
You guys wanna maybe turn on?
I think you could turn off that individually.
Keep the ones in the back.
The light that's pointing towards the projector.
back there?
If you turn off one of them, I think it turns off these guys.
Okay, try one more time.
Oh, ooh, ah, damn it.
This time on.
No, that's the opposite we want to do. What the hell? Off it is. Whatever. Can everyone see now? Awesome.
So I have the project here. I'm trying to load it up. It says
It's open already. It's on. Yeah, it's opening. Yeah.
So you want us to make a second script folder?
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna create everything from scratch.
Oh, and then make another scenes folder.
Yeah. You could put it in the same script folder that I gave you guys, but we're making everything from scratch. You guys have everything completed, just in case you're not, for some reason, able to follow up. You have everything on your end, so there's no need to stress it. But we're doing everything from scratch. Okay, so we're creating our first scene. Once you have it created, double click on it, and it'll take you to your scene. In other words, a scene is basically your 3D space that you're gonna be developing whatever you're developing. All right, so it's just a workspace, 3D workspace. Every scene is gonna have a main camera and a directional light. You could add those after. You could delete them if you want, but we're probably gonna use them, right? So, before we start, let's create a 3D object, sort of to have a little map. Let's put a plane. With right click, you can go into this mode right here with a little eye, and with WASD, you can move around. If your game looks like this, press 2, and it'll go between 2D and 3D, right? We have that issue every now and then. So just make sure you're in 3D version. All right, you can make this bigger. This is our inspector. Everything that we have in our 3D space has certain parameters. Most important parameter right here for now, it'll be our transform. Transform parameter is our 3D location that we are in a 3D space. So this is our famous vector 3. Who has heard of 3D vectors before? In what scenario? Physics? In what scenario have you heard 3D vectors? Physics?
Physics and also from programming in general.
Programming, really? What programming class?
No, it's not from the new class.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I just use it as a variable because there are free fields where you can build some variables, that's all.
Right.
When you're doing physics.
Physics.
Multiply it.
Right.
Oh, computer graphics here, that's how you.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. With Antonio Hernandez? Kanush. Somebody else raise their hand? Who thinks 3D vector sounds complex? Don't lie, I thought it was complex. Nobody thinks a 3D vector sounds complex? Oh, so a 3D vector is easy? A 3D vector, all it is, it's 3 floats. That's all it is. Think of it as an array that contains 3 floats. Nothing else, nothing less. It's just 3 values. That's it. So, this 3 values means our 3D position, right? Our X, Y, and Z in a 3D space. Same reason that I'm here, I would have a 3D position, which is called longitude, whatever. Here is called X, Y, and Z, like it's the same thing, right? So we are in a 3D space here, we are replicating a 3D space in our computer. So for now, let's just put 0, 0, 0, and that moves the location of our plane, which is gonna be, we can rename it to our floor. Everybody good so far? I'm just doing basics, right? In scale, we could change the size to, like, for example, 2 and 2. We don't need to change Y because this is not, our plane is not a 3D object, it's a 2D object. So even if we put any number, it'll still stay the same thickness. Whereas if we put a cube instead, now we change this, see? That's a big object, right? So not a plane. A plane is 2D. Very good so far, right? Okay. Now let's start with our player. Our player usually, for the most part, players can be super simple and super complex. Just depends on your approach. For now, we're gonna use a capsule for our player. And this will be our player for now. Everyone saw how I did that? Right click here, create 3D object, and click on capsule, and just spawn that. Everybody good so far? Okay. Now, this 3 buttons here is to play the current scene that we have. So if I click play, we are in play mode. If I had anything scripted, it'll be running right now because I have in play mode, right? I have a capsule, which is our player, but our player is not moving, right? So that means that we don't have physics yet. What adds physics to our player is something called, I'm gonna click on the capsule. I'm clicking on the capsule here, which is our player, which we could rename it to player, so I don't have to call it capsule anymore. It's almost a player, basically. Let's call it player, and I'm gonna add a component, right? Component called rigid body, super important. Everyone know how I did this? Should I go faster? I could go slower or faster. Up to you guys.
I just caught up, go slow.
Okay. So add component, and you're gonna be able to, through adding components here, you're gonna be able to add basically everything that's on the library that's available, right? Rigid body, I just added to this. This adds the physics to our player. This adds movement. So now when I click play, our capsule is gonna collide and have physics, right? So see how now it moved, right? Right, step number 1 complete. Go ahead.
I cannot click the play mode because it says that there are some
Compile errors.
Yeah.
Check on the console, and you might be missing something. Again, I don't know, but when you have compile errors, it's usually related to something try to double click on that, see what it is. And if it takes you to a script, just delete it. But that's usually related to downloading, the editor or things like that. Yes? Yeah, you have to click here. And then install the editor. Once it shows up, it'll take a little bit because the Wi-Fi here is a little slow. Everyone good so far? Okay. Now we want to add this camera that we have here. We want to make it so it's together with our player, right? So if in any case that we start moving our player, the camera also moves, right? How do I want to explain this? We can't.
Like view the camera?
Huh?
How did you view the camera? Do you have a window for the main camera?
It should be automatically. If you click on it. Click on the camera.
I don't have that.
Really? No clue. It should be automatically, but I really have no idea.
Oh, I see. It's a button that you click on. There's a button to enable the window.
Where?
I don't think you have it.
Do we have the same Unity version?
I think so.
All right. So.
I'll show you what I mean.
Here, like I have the main camera selected and then show up the camera. There's a button here that turns on this thing.
Interesting. I don't have that bar there. Weird. All right. Now, we have physics, but we need to add our own player script, right? So how do we make a custom script? I'm gonna get back to the camera thing in a second. We go here to add component, and then you add whatever name you wanna name your script. You can't name a player script because you guys should already have something called player script. That's your backup script that had completed. My last idea was our player script, I think it was called. So what do you guys want to name it? Anybody throw a name?
Me.
Me?
Yes.
Me, player script, okay. That works. Okay, and then you click enter, and then you click create and add, right? Another approach, if you don't want to put it inside of a object, you could also go here, right click, create, and you can go to script. But then after, you have to give it to whatever object you're trying to script, right? So in the meantime, let's just do it like this. You're gonna double click on this right here, and then it's gonna open your IDE. I strongly recommend for your IDE to use Visual Studios or VS Code. I personally prefer Visual Studios, but you could go either way. The original Unity IDE, I don't quite remember what it was called, but it sucks. Well, I don't like it, so just as a heads up. Yes?
How did you open the IDE?
Double click on, are you here where you added your script? Okay, on the name of your script, double click on it, and it should open automatically. Okay. Okay, so we have a couple different problems before we start scripting. As I click play, we do have physics, but we don't have constraints. What I mean by constraints is if I move this capsule around, it's gonna fall on its face, right? And we don't want that. Any movement, we wanna control ourselves. We don't want any physics to be controlled by themselves, right? So for that, we're gonna add some constraints. We're gonna go to a rigid body tab, and you see where it says constraints? We're gonna freeze our position and rotation. Wait, do I wanna fix everything? I don't know, we might come back to that. You wanna make sure that you freeze everything so that way you can handle everything through code. Yes?
I think only rotation, because if you fix position, you just won't move.
Right. I think scripting overrides it, but I don't quite remember. So we're gonna find out together. Anybody else have a question? No? Okay. I'm gonna take it off for now just in case. Okay, so let's go to our.
Yeah, I think freeze position when I hit play, it just like froze.
Yeah. Then just leave the rotation. We don't want it to rotate by itself. Wow, it's so dark in here. It's wild. Okay, we Okay, question time. These are three different. Nobody look at the board. Nobody look up. Look down. All right. Anybody want to guess the difference between start, update, and fix update? If you read what it said, then you don't raise your hand. I'm kidding. You can raise your hand anyways. Anybody want to guess? Okay. Anybody want to guess what start is?
I'm gonna guess like it calls the method once it it's gonna do the method once it something calls it.
No.
No?
But good answer.
Whenever you hit play game, whatever's inside star will run
How many times?
once.
Okay. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Who else had their hand up?
Essentially what he said.
Go ahead. Who else has a different take? Everyone, okay. So start runs whenever you start the game for the first time. So whenever I hit play, it'll run once. So technically you guys were all right. Now, what's the let's go with update first. Who wants to guess what update is?
It happens as the game is running.
What do you?
Like in the update function,
Right.
everything that's there, like it'll, like let's just say it's like.
As fast as the game is running.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, tell me your answer. You think maybe not? Yes? No? Sure?
I mean.
As fast, slower, fixed?
As fast as the game is running. Yeah.
As fast as the game is running? Okay. Yeah?
Updates every single frame.
Not saying you're wrong or right. We'll go back.
You change it like after something you don't like mess with it.
Okay. Who else? I don't want to say who's right or wrong because I don't want. Go ahead. Every frame? Anyone else? Yeah, so basically update runs every frame. We are gonna hit a problem with update, which you saw already. We're gonna code everything in update because if I code a different way, it's gonna be too complex. But update runs as fast as your computer can run it. We all have different computers here. So it might run 60, 30, 50, 100, 200, whatever FPS. That's how fast this code is gonna run. So it's gonna be different values. If you multiply times 10, 60 times compared to 200, it's gonna be different value, right? Now that we know what update is, who wants to guess what fixed update is?
So the problem with update is, I'll go on this quickly. So the problem with update is that, for example, if you're tying physics to the frame rate, it can actually mess up with a lot of things. So fixed update, what it does is that it introduces a fixed step, which like caps it at usually around 60 FPS to fix, or at least mitigate that issue.
Right, you were almost 100% right. I'll tell you the only part that you missed. Who else wants to guess what fixed update is? So you're basically right, but fixed update runs either 30 or 45 FPS. It never quite gets to 60. That's why when you run your physics, if you want to be super picky, when you run your physics, you can tell a lot of times that something, again, I'll show you guys here, but something like moving a rigid body compared to moving a camera you would move it without physics, so in your transform. A rigid body, you move it in your physics. Your physics are gonna run 30 to 45 FPS. Your camera is gonna run whatever your game runs. So your camera will be super smooth, and if you wanna be super picky, you could technically look at your player at a certain angles, and you could kind of see how it'll skip a couple frames. And that happens in most games, right? So that's basically the difference between the three methods that we're gonna use for every game basically you can use. The right approach, which is not the approach that we're taking. The right approach is you wanna get your input and your update. And then you wanna move your physics and your fixed update. But that overcomplicates a lot of the scripts. So we're not gonna take that approach. Okay, so first we need everyone's here so far, right? Oh, this light is terrible. How do I turn this off? Oh, that's better. All right, we're gonna need a rigid body variable, right? Because we wanna modify the rigid body itself. And then we're not gonna use fixed update. We're just gonna use regular update. And then we're gonna get our first input. We're gonna put an if statement, and then input dot get key. Now who wants to guess? Don't read what it says. Don't look at the board. All right, who wants to guess the difference between get key down, and get key up? Let's start with get key. Okay, or start with whichever one you want to start. Just say one, back there.
Get key, I believe, is if you just press it once. So like, when you press it, it will do the action once.
Okay. No, but I get why it's confusing. It happens to me all the time. But you're right for one of them. Yes.
takes any characteristic input, right?
Well, I didn't finish the whole thing, but just do that. Right, so in that case,
Is that a W?
yeah,
I guess in that case, you're just like, it'll check if you press the W.
press it once, press it several times. So get, you had your hand up?
I was going to say that for get key down and up, it's whatever you have it set to in the Unity settings for your control.
No.
Oh, shit.
No.
Wait, are we doing down and up now, or?
Guess any of them.
Oh, okay, well, down is when you like hold it down, like press it down, and then up is when you release it, I'm gonna guess?
You got up correct.
Oh.
So down is when you press it once, up is when you let go, and get key just takes input whenever you keep holding it, right? So, perfect example. Again, this is why I like Visual Studios, because it'll give you everything as you're writing it, but so see, it returns true when the user holds the key, right? So basically think of video games, automatic versus semi-auto, right? You click once, it'll keep shooting. If you press it, if it's get key down, you have to press it every single time, right? And get key up just checks whenever you release the key. So for moving a player with W, what do you guys think we should use? Should we use down, up, or key that holds? Somebody has to guess. Get key, right? Obviously, because we don't want to be pressing every single time. Right, so get key W. Basically, this if statement will become true once you press W, right? Super duper important. We are accessing the player through its rigid body. So whenever we get player rig that move position, we are accessing that through physics. Very different from having ignore what I said. I'll show you guys in a second. All right. So move position is a function that moves the rigid body using its physics, right? So we're going to have, who wants to autocomplete this function? Who does not understand so far? Who understands so far? Who wants, guys, I can repeat anything over and over again. It's totally fine. Just, yes?
Why did we delete the void start? Why are we only doing void start?
Because we're not, for now, like, we're not going to need anything in the start. Start, you basically needed, like, for example, in the really long script that I showed you guys, I had a randomized clothing of the player. So whenever the game starts, it'll randomize the outfit. So that's something you want to just run once, for example. So, but start works for things like that. You don't really need anything else for start. Also, start works whenever you're creating a multiplayer game. You want to check if it's a server or if it's a client. You also run that in the start. You want to make sure you access the right permissions for each player. So start is basically for that, but nothing else. Anybody else? Right, so if we want to move position, first we have to set the player position of this, right? So this dot game object. This is identical to Java, so same thing. This object transform that position. What this line means is we're getting this object that we currently are. So this object, and we're getting game object that transform that position. So whenever we run that script, it's gonna be 0.4, whatever, 1.41, and 2. That's the value that that's gonna get, right? Right. So if we're setting this up and we leave it like this, we're not doing anything. We're just sending the player to the same position that it currently is. Does that make sense? So we need to modify as we go. So we need a different variable. Actually make that a transform. If I take this approach, I don't know if you guys would understand. Right, that's fine. Okay, so, and then we multiply that. So we're getting the position that we currently are, and we're multiplying it times whatever I called camera parent, that transform, that forward. Make that add, sorry. Okay, let's go back to our, everyone's good here so far?
I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, that's why I want to go back to the Unity so I can show you guys something. So you guys can put two together. I want to show you guys how to merge your code and your game so it becomes one. It's hard to script something and then sort of understand how it works. So let me go back to Unity so we can merge it together. Right, so we're here. Go to your player and right click on it and create empty parent. It's gonna look like this. It's gonna nest the player inside of another object. And then we could call this player parent, right? Now we wanna put the camera inside of it. So you're gonna have a player parent, you're gonna have your player inside, and then you have your camera as well. Everyone's here so far? This is what's gonna make sense once I go back to the code. I should have done this before. Back to somebody raise your hand. Good? Good so far? Okay. Now you can go to game here. If you don't have this window, you can go to game, and you're gonna have the view of your camera. Click on your camera and adjust it accordingly to how you want your game to look. So you might want to go up a little bit. Maybe you want to rotate it. No, not in the y-axis. Not here either. Maybe you want to rotate it slightly forward, maybe like 20%. And make it up like, I don't know, 5, right? Then you can put that to 0, and then you can put that to -12. -10. Right, so if you guys want to replicate the same position that I currently have, you just have to copy those values and into your, just make sure that it looks this way. It looks player parent, inside you have your main camera, and inside you have your player that has your physics. Yes?
The player parent is an empty object, right?
It's an empty object. It doesn't have anything else. And we click on camera. We're gonna be modifying the rotation of our camera. If we rotate our camera now, it's rotating around its axis. This is not how you rotate in games, right? So this looks super bad, right? So instead of rotating like this, we need to make another object, right click on player parent, and create empty. And we're gonna call that camera parent. For this to work, make sure the values of camera parent are 0, 0, 0 inside of player parent. Everything to 0. Everyone's good here so far? Ask me questions.
So when you make a camera with the object, it doesn't pop up as a camera.
What do you mean?
Main thing. Do you use create empty or do you use camera?
You should have a camera already here. That's your camera right here, main camera.
Oh, so I just did that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, since you don't have it, just right click. Right click on empty. Right click somewhere here. Oh, that's your camera right there.
Wait, so this is the main camera.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Put it inside of your player how I have it here.
Oh,
Okay.
I have a question. So when you made that demonstration about the camera rotating thing, I didn't really quite understand that. Is that because the camera's supposed to be in like third person?
We rotate in the axis that we currently are. So if I'm here and you start rotating, I'm gonna rotate here. But how games work, a camera rotates around the axis of the player.
Right.
The player is here. We are here, right? But in order to rotate around the axis of the player, you have to do this. This is why I created camera parent. Remember, if I move my camera here, I'm gonna be rotating around the axis of the camera. Now, with what I've done, if I move the camera in here, now if I can rotate this, look how it moves. See? Step number, that's why I should have created this first before starting the script, but I just wanted to get into coding already. So, this is what we're gonna be manipulating in our script to rotate our camera, right? So it orbits around the player. Make sense? Everyone good so far? Everyone know how I did that? Okay. Okay, now that we have that, we need to fix one more thing. Okay, don't do what I'm doing yet. Perfect. Okay. So, instead of having our rigid body and our capsule collider in here, just go here and delete this, remove component, right click here and remove component as well. And we're gonna have that in our parent folder. So all I did was add component, capsule collider, enter, and then rigid body and enter as well. Everyone got that so far?
Wait.
All I did was get.
What did you delete in player?
So in player, go here to the little buttons here and remove component to your capsule collider and your rigid body. Also remove your script. We don't want anything here. That's gonna make sense in that.
We made earlier?
Yeah, remove everything. Because we're moving the script to the parent folder. Everyone good? Question? Okay. So I have, in my parent folder, I have my capsule collider, which is my collider that makes me collide with things, and my rigid body. Let's freeze the rotation here again. And then we're gonna add, what's that we call those script? Script? Okay, there we go. You guys see how I did that? Just add component and just put the name of the script. Or you could also find it here and just drag and drop it in here. Either way. Good so far? Questions? No? Okay. So if you click play, technically it should be the same thing. Right. Now my capsule collider is a little smaller than what I want, but we'll fix that in a second. You guys saw why I did that, right? I did that because I need my rigid body and my physics, I need my camera to be inside of my player. The other way around, if my player here, this, has physics and nothing else, then my camera, it's outside. My camera is not a child to the player, so therefore it's not gonna have physics. So I need it in the parent folder. Does that make sense? Okay. Super important. You guys might be wondering why mine looks green. You have to go to your preferences, somewhere here, project settings, somewhere here, and editor and colors, again, somewhere here. But very important, make this to be a super random, annoying color. When you are in play mode, nothing saves. I repeat, when you are in play mode, nothing saves. So if you build GTA 6 in play mode, it won't save, right? Do not do anything in play mode. By default, play mode looks the same way as when you're not playing. You can't tell the difference. So make it a super annoying color to work with, and very important. Because if now I start adding a bunch of stuff, I'm like, oh man, I have this awesome idea. I'm gonna add this cube here. And then, oh, you know what? I'm gonna copy this and paste. And I'm gonna add something else here. And I added a bunch of buildings. And I've been designing for like 3 hours. And I click play, there, you lost everything. There's no way to get that back. I cannot say that enough. It happens to me all the time. Do not do anything in play mode. So go to your settings and change that immediately. Any questions?
Can you show it again where you find the preferences?
Yeah, it's different for Mac and PC, but it should be settings here. It's in Unity settings and it's play mode tint. Make that the super annoying color, right? Okay, now that we have our players kind of set up, what we're trying to accomplish through code is make this player go forward and sideways, and the camera to rotate it around, right? So when we're rotating our camera, we want it to go like this through code. Basically is what we're doing, right? This is our camera parent, and this is our player. And this we can call it our player model. That's gonna make sense in a second. All right, let's go to our script. Right, so now that we're back in our script, does it make more sense why I have camera parent now? Because we wanna rotate around the axis, right? So, we're modifying the position of the player by first sending its current position. If the player is currently at 10, 10, 10, we're adding the position of the camera is the only variable that we have in control that we know it's attached to the player, at least so far. We know the camera is always gonna be with the player. So there's a function called transform.forward. We have transform.forward and transform.right. We don't have transform.back or transform.left. In other words, what that means is transform.forward just gets whatever transform. A transform is just the position X, Y, and Z. That's all it is. All it is, it gets the position that you currently are forward. If you want to know what's behind you, make that negative, and you have what's behind you. And then you use transform.right, you have what's on the right of whatever you have. Same thing, if you want to get what's on the left, just make it negative. Does that make sense? So, in this line, I'm getting the position of the player, which is that game object that transformed that position, which in other words, in super fancy words, is where I'm at currently. And the camera that's behind here, looking at the player, I'm getting that forward, wherever that forward is. Whenever I'm pressing W, I'm getting, all right, my position plus that forward, and that's gonna be always in front of the player. And we're gonna modify that and our update at 60, 70, 90 FPS, whatever the game runs. So because of that, we're gonna be +1, +1, +1, +1, and we're always gonna be moving forward. Does that make sense? Don't let it look complex. I promise you, it is not complex. I know it's one line of code, but it's not complex. Anybody has a question on this? No? Awesome. Okay, this line has a massive issue. Actually, 2 problems. Anybody want to guess what they are? Wow, they need to give us like 5 hours for the workshop. Anybody want to guess what they are? Yes?
You're too fast because there are no like speed limits. You just go.
Exactly. That's one. Anybody else? Yes?
You're basically pressing W and you're going backwards. You have minus.
Sorry. Yes?
I'm gonna guess you're pressing W, but there's no way to stop yourself.
When you don't press W, you're not walking.
Oh, right.
Okay, let's fix your problem first. Main problem that we have currently is we don't have control how fast we're going. We don't know how fast we're going. This could be 1,000,000 times per second. So we need a public float, and we'll call it move speed. So we want to get this and multiply it times move speed. That already gives us control. We make move speed 0.1 and it'll be slow, 10, it'll be fast, right? The other problem that it's kind of a cheap fixed solution. Don't ever take this approach, but you have to do it a lot of times. Since we're doing everything in the update, this is gonna run every single frame per second. So I have to bring the issue again of if it runs 60, it's gonna be 60. If it runs 100, it's gonna be 100. The way to kind of fix that is we multiply this formula by time.delta time. What time.delta time is, it's basically a clock that runs in the game. And it'll run consistent because it runs with seconds. So it doesn't matter how fast or slow your game runs, this runs with seconds, therefore it's always gonna run, should always run at the same speed, okay? Good so far? Okay, so let's add a comment here and let's say walk forward. Now we could copy this whole line here and paste it a couple more times. All I did was copy and paste, right? We're gonna change this to else, because we don't wanna be moving in different directions at the same time, for now. If you wanna know how to move in different directions at the same time, you could ask me after the workshop if you wanna be super picky. But normally, to make it more simple, we just move one step at a time, right? But again, if you want to move in 2 directions, ask me after the workshop, right? So instead of W, we're going to press S, and we're going to walk back. And left, we're going to press A, and we're going to walk, A is what, left? Okay, yeah, don't do that. There you go. And then we're going to walk right, and we're going to press D. So we need to modify our script. Instead of, if it's S, we're walking backwards. So instead of adding, we're going to be obviously subtracting, right? So we're subtracting here, and technically we should be walking backwards. A, we are going left, so we have to use, instead of transforming that forward, we have to use that right. And if you don't believe me, there is no left. So you have to use that right. And I think we gotta make this negative. And then we go that right here. And then we add it, because it should be, positive should be right, negative should be left. But again, we'll see if that works how we think, right? Everyone good so far? Questions? Re-explain anything?
Can you recap what you said? Sorry.
Yeah, so basically we have the same concept for all of them. We just have that forward negative to go backwards, that right positive negative to go left, and then that right positive to go right. I think this is usually inverted for some reason, I don't know why, but we'll see now when we test it, okay? So far so good, everyone's here? All right, so let's save, and then let's go back to Unity and see our progress so far. I'm sure we did something wrong at some point. We'll see. Okay, first and foremost, we have to reference our variables, right? If you go to your script, you're gonna see that nothing here is referenced. That's why I made it public. Should I go into public and private? Fine. Who has taken only programming 1 here? Only programming 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, if, in other words, private and public are, basically security. But if you make everything public, it's a lot easier and a lot simpler. If you wanted to make everything private, you will have to take the approach of using your start method. And then on your start, you will put get this, that rigid body, and get a bunch of references that technically making it public and referencing it would be a lot easier. So just, as a heads up, just depends on your approach, but public is just, for the most part, a lot easier. So we need to reference our rigid body here, right? Our rigid body is literally right here. So click on it, drag and drop, and let it drop there, okay? And then we need to reference our camera parent. Camera parent is this one. Leave this press and drag and drop. And there you go. Make sure to change the variable to a non-zero number, because if not, then you're not gonna move, because you multiply times 0, so it'll be 0. So I think 1 would be too fast, but we can test it out for now, right? Okay, let's go to our floor and make it a little bigger so we don't fall off the map.
What's the player?
Say it again, please.
I have a variable in my script called the player. What would that be?
You mean player rig, as in like a rigid body?
I have player rig, player, camera parent, and move speed. Did you delete player? Oh yeah, you did. Okay, there you go.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? It might be hard to know if you're moving or not, because everything it's one solid color. So just try to add to your map. Try to right click here and add an object and just add cube. Change the size of it. Trust me, it'll make it a lot easier to know if you're moving or not. There we go. There we go. Now, everyone's here so far? Anybody needs help? Good? I'll take that as a yes. All right, we click play. And technically, if we press W, we're not doing anything. Awesome. Yeah. So probably is that our number 1 is too low of a number, so let's just put 10. And 10, you can kind of see how it's kind of moving, right? So that means that our value has to be higher. 50, it's okay, so even higher. Let's put 100, I guess. And then, I don't know, 200. There you go. So we're moving forward, backwards, left, and right. And if you want to try to break it, then you do that, and it breaks. Right, so far we know that that works. Oof, Unity did not like that. Oh, okay, we'll just clear that. All right, everyone good so far? Good? Okay. So we have our movement down, technically. Let's try to rotate our camera. Rotating the camera, it's gonna be a lot simpler. So we are gonna be rotating our camera parent. And let's put a comment here, rotate camera. And then all we're doing is an if statement. And we get input dot gets key. And this is called key code dot left arrow. Right. Okay. So here we're gonna put camera parent dot transform. We gotta access our transform. Remember, we're not using physics to rotate our camera, right? Dot rotate, and this takes technically a Euler angle, right? So if we put we put 0, 0, 0, we're gonna be rotating nothing, right? Go back to Unity for a second, because I wanna make sure that you guys understand this. Okay, this is our camera, right? What we're accessing when we put transform that rotation, we're accessing these 3 variables right here. We don't know which one we're rotating yet, so let's check if it's Y. Okay, it is Y, right? Because we're rotating in this aspect. It's not X, because X rotates like this, and we don't want to rotate like that yet. And it's not Z, because Z does this, and we don't want to do that, right? So we're rotating Y. So it's in order, X, Y, and Z, right? So we go back to our script. Why is it doing this? Okay. X, Y, and Z, right? So we don't need to touch X or Z. So all we have to do is just Y. So I think we press left arrow, it should be -1, right? But again, we have the same issue here. If we just press -1, then this would technically be at whatever speed it wants to rotate at, right? If it runs 100, 200 FPS, it'll be. So we need 2 things. One, we need another float, and then let's call it public float, and we could call that camera rotation. So we get that and multiply it times camera rotation, and multiply it also times time dot delta time, right? And then we're gonna copy that and paste it down here. I just copy and paste, but instead of left arrow, it's gonna be right arrow. And instead of -1, it's gonna be 1. So we're rotating left or we're rotating right. Make sure to save it. I'll leave it up for a second. I hear a couple of you guys typing. Everyone gets it so far, right? It's super simple, super straightforward. Anybody does not get it? No? Yes. Time.delta time is basically a clock that runs in Unity. So if your game runs at 100 FPS, it's not gonna matter because it'll multiply times 1 second every single time. So it doesn't really matter how fast or slow the update is running. Yes?
My camera is now rotating in relation to the characters, the position.
Okay, so yeah, that's what we did earlier. You have to make sure that it looks in this pattern. Let me show you. So it has to be the player parent has to be the parent of everything else. Your player should be inside, and your camera should be inside of camera parent. Is this how you have it set up?
Yeah.
Let me see. Go to your camera parent. rotate around the y-axis?
It just rotates on its own. I don't know why it's giving me. Wait, hold up. Yeah, it's giving me like a compiler error.
What's giving you a compiler? The Unity or the code?
Unity.
Go to errors. Go to the red ones. No, click on the red one.
No, okay.
There you go. Click on do not contain. Click on that. Double click on it.
It is fine, but that's for like prettier graphics. If you want like a simple view, do it like Unity. Because there's no point making
I think rotate is capital. I think that's why it's giving you a prompt. Yeah, rotate is capital. See? Yes.
Why does your camera look like that? Because my camera does not look like that. I don't have like the top down view. Not top down, but
What do you mean?
I can't really see when I rotate. Like I think I have the rotate working, but I can't tell.
Well, I think you have it. Have you referenced your variables yet?
Yes.
Go to your player parent. Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. It's probably because it's just a 1.
But I want to know this camera settings for your camera because I want it to look like how you have it.
Oh, okay. I'll show you now. Okay. So let's go back to Unity so we can set everything up. My camera, it's up there. It's 5, -10, and 20. Also, just to be picky, I mean, let's go here and let's fix our collider. You guys see how we're kind of going through the floor? Go to capsule collider here. Click on these little arrows and edit that so it fits the capsule that we currently have. Just to be, a little picky. That makes sense? All right. So we have all of our variables referenced. We probably want to change this to like 50. And then if we click play, we should be able to rotate right, left, and right. And then we can walk as well. Is everyone able to do this so far? Good? No. Who said no? It's like an obstacle course to go through all these cables. No, you're good.
So, I did in fact put it in play and then I lost everything, so I'm pretty sure I'm missing some variables.
No way. You're kidding.
Listen, sometimes you gotta live by love, okay? That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
But that's besides the point. So I got all of this.
Okay, you gotta put that to 100 and put the one under to like 50.
Okay, well, what do I reference the camera parent to?
To the camera parent.
Do I just drag this?
Drag and drop it.
Okay.
There you go. And then click play, see, hopefully it works.
All right. If I lose everything again, I will crash out.
Remember, see, but that's the thing, you don't have a crazy color. Oh. There you go. So if you wanna move it slower, you didn't restrain. Oh, you fell off the map. Make the map bigger so that doesn't happen. Okay. Just click play again and it'll restart.
Okay.
I love the color you picked.
Thank you.
What happened?
I can't.
Go to your player parent. Yeah, something happened in the script because you don't have anything. Wait.
Oh.
What? You named it something different?
I play just player script.
I don't have any components on
Click on the player script. Crossing our fingers, right? Okay. So, go into prefabs. Nope, not there. Go into assets, go here, go to prefab, go to character, go to whatever. Okay, just 1 second. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out where it is too. It's somewhere in this folder. Right, so everyone saw where I went, right? Anyways, you can see it here. So I went into my assets folder, then I went to this Battle Royale Heroes, then I went to prefabs, then I went to characters, then I went here, and then this takes me here. Click on this, drag it, and drop it in the scene. Good? I see a couple. Good? Awesome. Okay. So, the cool thing about this asset that I gave you guys, it has a ton of models. If you open, careful how you modify this. If you touch anything in the root section, this model won't work anymore. So, proceed with caution. But, for example, body and head 3 is, or alien, but we could put body and head 2, sure. Or 1. Again, it's one of those really cool assets that I use for all my projects that has a bunch of cool, models in it. So make yours look however you want. But for now, right click on it. We're probably gonna go into prefabs later in one of the other workshops. But for now, go into prefab. And what the hell? And unpack prefab completely. I'll explain to you guys later what that means. Let's rename this to player model. Open the player parent and drop that in there. No, not here. Drop it inside of player model and change the values to 0, 0, and 0. Really important, right? Okay, now, this object we don't need anymore, right? So delete that object. Everyone's good so far? Okay, let's go into our collider and make sure that it aligns with our player. It actually doesn't at all. So let's go here, press here, and then move it a little bit so it aligns with the player correctly. Oh, this is super bright. And then the bottom, like that. Right? So now we have something in 3D that we can actually see, right? Let me see if this has a animator. Oof, that was complex, huh? All right. I want to show you guys how to do this from scratch. Okay, go to animator here and just remove this component completely. Then you're gonna go to window and go to animation and click on create. And then you can name it whatever you want. I actually wanna go into here, right? Right? Name it whatever you want. Yes?
Where did you guys know I was lost?
Right, and I click save. Okay, so I went, if you go to this player model that I gave you guys, it already had an animator. Obviously, I want you guys to learn how to do it from scratch. So you're gonna have this, go here and remove component. Once you have removed that, you have to go, while clicking the player model, go to Window, Animation, and Animator. And instead of giving you this, it's gonna give you a prompt to create a new animator. Click on Create and just save it wherever you want.
Give me something else.
Did you remove it first?
Yeah, I did.
Let me see.
Just give me a whole like flow chart.
Yeah, because you didn't remove it. So you have to click on your player model. No. Click here. Click on see. Click on the player model.
Yeah.
Go to Window. Go to Animation. And go to Animator.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say on
No, sorry. Go again. Window. Animation.
move it to
And go to Animation.
You
And
said
go to Create.
animator.
Yeah. Go to Create.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So this already has some preset animations. Let's go to our animator. And once you create it from scratch, this is what you're going to have, right? Let me see so everyone can see it. Okay. These are basically states that your player is currently in. So we're going to change the name of this to idle, and then copy and paste, and change this to walk or run. Doesn't matter. Right. Now we need to have an actual animation here. This has its own animations already. So it's called Battle BCK. BCK, okay. Right, that makes sense. Right, so whatever animation you have, you're gonna add it here. So if it's called walking or something, like you would write it here and it'll be here. The asset that I provided for you guys, it's called BZK idle. So make sure to use this one specifically. This is gonna work perfect for the look that we're going for. This is idle, and then we're gonna go to run and type the same thing again, BCK, and this is gonna say run forward, right? Okay, so we have a couple of different states. We have entry, any state, and exit. Entry, it's basically the same thing as start. Whenever your game starts, it's gonna go from entry to whatever orange animation it currently is. In this case, we want that to be idle, because we're probably gonna be idling all the time whenever the game starts, right? And then your transition is this arrow right here. So we wanna create a transition from idling to running, and we wanna control that whenever we are in our script. So the way to do that is a couple different approaches. You could go here and create a couple different variables. You could create a float, you could create an int, you could create a bool, or you could create a trigger. Depends on your preference. I personally like integers, and I do this across all my animators. So I go to int, and I name that state lowercase. I do it the same way. That way I don't have to go back and forth between my code and my animator. If you have an int and you call it state, if it's 0, it's idle. If it's 1, it's walking. If it's 2, it's running. If it's 3, it's jumping. If it's 4, it's whatever, as complex as you want to make it, right? But an integer always works, at least for me, it always works perfect. So from idle to walk to run, we got to make a transition. So we right click and make transition. And then you click on whatever you want to make a transition. If you had 10 different animations, you would click on another one, right? So you click on it, and then you click on the transition, and this gives you the condition that you currently need, right? So we need, the condition that we just added was a integer called state, and we want to make sure that it's equal to 1, right? So whenever state is equal to 1, we're going to be running. But we need a transition back to idling, because we're not going to be always running. We're going to be either running or walking. So we're going to click on running, right click, make transition, back to idle. Idle, it's gonna be, what value is it's idle gonna be? 0, right?
0.
Right. So we'll make that equal to 0. Now, super important. This will depend on your animation, your style, your code. It'll vary. But the way that I do it, I like to take off exit time. What is exit time? Does anybody want to guess what exit time is? Nobody? We're at the point of the workshop where everyone's dying to leave. Nobody wants to guess? So exit time basically is whether changing the value of a transition allows you to finish the current animation that you currently are. So for example, if my full running animation is left, left and this, if this is my full animation, but if my integer changes while I'm here, if has exit time is not true, then it'll completely change to my other animation. If it's marked, then it'll wait for my animation to finish, and then it'll change. So in other words, whether you want it snappy or not snappy. If you take that off, which is how I like it, you'll have your code snappy. I like things to be fluent and immediately. If you want to make it super, like, I don't know, realistic, or just depends on the look that you're going for, you leave that on. But you would have to code accordingly, because it'll feel a little laggy if you leave that on. That makes sense? Okay, so we have our integer state, 0 idle, 1 running, and we have it back and forth, and we has exit time off for both of them. Okay, so we're good. We go back to our script. Okay, let's click, before we do that, let's click play first. Wow, this is super far. Okay, let's do. Is the player idling? I don't think it is, right?
No.
Bro. Man, it should. All right, let's finish the code and then we can debug why the hell it's not doing anything. Okay, so we now have our animator set up technically. Now we just have to go back to our code and then we need to reference that animator, right? So public animator, player animator, right? So whenever we are walking or pressing anything, we want to make sure that our animation is, our integer is a what? A 1, right? Because it's running. So the function for that is animator.set integer state. This is where you have to pass the name as a reference, and then comma, whatever number you want it to be, right? So we want it to be 1 whenever we are pressing W, and we want it to be the same thing for whenever we are pressing anything in general that implies the player moving. So let's just copy and paste that everywhere, right? So we want it to be 1. We want it to be 1 here as well, and we want it to be 1, right? Now the only problem that we have is we need to go back to idle. Anybody want to throw a guess how to go back to idle? I'll throw a hint. It's an if statement. Straightforward, but how do we write that if statement? Yes?
If input, like, get key and you put nothing?
No, but close. You could, but so like for example, if you get key up W, right? Let's say that you're pressing D or S or moving any other direction, it's gonna give you an error.
If not input.get.
Exactly.
And then.
So.
Yeah, player animator.set integer state.
So you're basically gonna copy this, and this, and this, and this. And you're gonna put W, A, S, D. And instead of pressing, you're gonna put not. So in other words, whenever you're not pressing anything that it's related to moving, we should be back to idling. That's all this is. Does that make sense? In other words, I'm just checking if you're not pressing WASD, nothing else. And then you're gonna go to player animator dot set integer. We're gonna pass states, comma, 0, because we wanna go back to idle. Simple as that, right? Save it. Super important to save it. Now let's go back to Unity and then let's see why the hell it didn't want to idle the first time. Okay. Oh, no. See, I just made another mistake. Super important. Whenever you finish a script, remember, you have to reference everything. So my animator, it threw an error because I don't have my animator reference. So I gotta get my player model and reference the animator. Remember, you could drag and drop whatever it is if it's within. So here is my animator. I don't need to go here and like drag and drop it. I could just drag and drop the whole thing and it'll get the animator from that. Everyone here so far? Good? Okay, so now we can technically click play. Moment of truth. Okay, it should work. Why it doesn't work, I don't know. We'll figure that out now. Right, let's go back to animator, right. Okay, oh, okay, so it's not animating because we don't have an avatar. So the current bones and structure of the asset that we have, it should be this one, right? So default character, okay. You can't just have this empty. Okay, there we go. So now, with luck, it should work. Oh, there we go. We just have to give it one weapon, not two. Let's make sure this weapon disappears. There we go. And now we click play. Let's make it a little bit closer so the camera can actually see our player. Let's make this -5, and let's make this 35 or 30.
What did you set the avatar to?
Hold on. There you go. If anybody wants to put the same values that I did, those are right. What was the question? Ooh, that alarm. Huh?
What did you set the avatar?
Default something. If you put default, they should be the only one. Right, so now if we click play, we should see our, remember, how something looks is super important, right? So we can rotate our camera, and then we can walk, we press W, right? And then we walk in that direction, right? Good? Okay. We technically have 5 minutes left on the workshop. I can show you guys how to rotate the player according to the camera. So like right now, if we're walking this way and we walk forward, it'll walk in the direction that we're looking at, but the player will look different direction. So, how do you guys feel? You guys want to finish it? You guys have it on your end, so it's fine. The hell? Who needs to go to class now? Okay. It's only fair for us to finish the workshop then. So you had a question?
Can you show me how to fix the animation again?
Yeah, so go to your player model, go to your animator, and this should be empty. So instead of change it, click here and just add the one that says default. default something else. And that should fix the animations. All right, anybody else has a question? If not, then I think we are done. I'm gonna stick around for a bit if you guys wanna ask me questions or try to, whatever. If you guys wanna, anything else, I'll be here for a little bit, yes.
Will there be a recording for this? Or is it still
You said a recording? So yeah, we'll have the video posted today or tomorrow. And also you have it in the project that I gave you guys, the whole code is completed with the rotation and everything. And also my Discord, it's in the Notion. So if you need to reach out to me, let me know.